for completing the side quest, Breaking the Curse of Shishin High School. The reward will be settled after the main task is completed. Congratulations to player Zhao for obtaining the hidden item, Pandora's Box. In a towering building with hundreds of floors in the distance, a man in a suit and leather shoes sat looking out the window. This person was Yang Tao, the vice president of the Trumpet Company Guild. There was a knock on the door. "Please come in." Yang Tao straightened the wrinkles on his clothes against the translucent glass. He turned around and saw his beautiful secretary walking in with an unkempt man who had an evil smile on his face. "Vice President, do you have a problem with me?" The man spoke, and the secretary on the side left the room under Yang Tao's instruction. "Sit." Yang Tao threw a copy of the report in his hand on the coffee table in front of Bar. Forgotten Angel. Bar looked at the information on the report, and the evil smile on his face disappeared. The light cast shadows on his face. "He came in too." Yang Tao nodded. "Do you know him?" After being silent for a long time, Bar didn't seem to want to talk about Zhao Yi. He felt uncomfortable. "Vice President, you know that our family has a disease, but I prefer to call it talent. The desire for slaughter flows in our blood, and it has never changed for generations. That's why my father became an arms dealer, because arms are accompanied by blood and sin. His talent is the most outstanding I have ever seen. He has traveled to many battlefields, and behind many wars there is the shadow of my father. He has killed tens of thousands of people, women, young and old. Since I was a child, my ultimate goal in life has been to surpass my father, until..." Bar's tone deepened. Yang Tao, who was sitting opposite him, picked up his coffee and raised his eyebrows. "It wasn't until your father Kapar, the King of Arms, met the Forgotten Angel that his murderous disorder was cured, right?" There was no clear expression on Bar's indifferent face. What a disgrace to him. Killing was something engraved in their genes. How could something like this be cured? But his father Kapar had indeed been cured of his homicidal disorder by the Forgotten Angel. Because of this, he killed his father Kapar. Bar couldn't accept that his father, the King of Arms, the mastermind of war, and the father who stood at the top of the world's food chain, suddenly one day turned into a kind old man who fished and played chess all day long. He would rather not have such a father. "What do you know about his treatment of your father?" Yang Tao asked, and Bar thought seriously for a while. Their treatment was done in secret, and although they spent a long time together, the treatment time was actually very short. "This man cured my father's homicidal disorder within a day, maybe within an hour. Because of the short time, I clearly felt that my father seemed to be a different person." Yang Tao squinted his eyes. "Have you not been in contact with him?" Bar seemed to recall something shameful, and his fingers trembled slightly. "Contacted once." "How does it feel?" "Fear. As a murderer, an extremely cruel lunatic who thought he was at the top of the food chain. He actually admitted the truth that he feared." Yang Tao was very surprised and became more and more interested in Zhao Yi. "Is he cruel to make you afraid of him like this?" Bar clenched his fists tightly. After a long while, he exhaled a breath. "Vice President, where is he?" Obviously, he didn't want to recall all the contacts he had with Zhao Yi, and that memory that wasn't too long ago was also strangely blurry. Everything about Zhao Yi was melting away. The only thing that was profound was the fear that was like gangrene in his bones. "Currently in the All Bastards Guild." "Okay, go and rest and prepare well. The tide of demonic spirits will appear in a month. You can lower your level and perform well in it. Maybe you can finally get something out of the tide of demonic spirits. I know, if I have the chance, I will definitely wash away the family's shame with my own hands." There was a murderous intent in Bar's eyes. Shishin University, inside the experimental base. Zhao Yi was sitting in the X2 experimental cabin, trying to operate the instruments. After solving the side mission, he returned to the original route and went back to the X2 experimental cabin. He used some medical measures here to simply disinfect the wound and cut off his rotten leg. Yang Linlin on the side looked at him and called for dinner. Without anesthesia, he performed limb removal surgery on himself without blinking his eyes from beginning to end. After doing this, Zhao started to learn how to use these machines. He learned quickly. "The mission is over, why do you still risk communicating with it?" There's an old saying, courtesy reciprocates. They put such a curse on me. It would be really rude if I didn't give them some gifts in return. Hearing this, Yang Linlin seemed to understand a little, but not completely. "Do you want to use X2 to deal with the organization behind Lai Sheng and the others?" "I don't think it's possible. The other party can create such a terrifying curse. The power behind it must be astonishing." 3 days later, just before the main mission ended, X2 returned to the experimental cabin. Yang Linlin was so frightened that she almost peed. She quickly took out her small pistol and pointed it at the rioting experimental subject. However, the other party completely ignored her, turned around, and bowed respectfully to Zhao Yi. Yang Linlin was dumbfounded.